Welcome to Joint Session Diverse Voices in New York State Cannabis, the podcast where policymakers, legislators, thought leaders, licensees, and advocates come to discuss the evolving landscape of cannabis in New York and beyond. I'm Herb Barbot, former Director of Operations in New York's Office of Cannabis Management. Each episode, we bring you in-depth conversations with key voices shaping policy, business, and advocacy, plus expert insights on the latest developments impacting the industry. And now for the episode.
Welcome to episode 16 of season 2 of Joint Session. This is Herb Barbot, and in this episode we'll speak with Jay Randolph Wright, a member of the Shinnecock Nation and product marketing manager for Little Beach Harvest, a Shinnecock Dispensary in Southampton, New York. But before hearing from Jay, let's take a spin around this week's news. Across the country, and already in New York, regulators are moving to ban intoxicating hemp. In California, regulators are moving to make permanent an emergency ban on intoxicating hemp products that have been in place since September. The ban is an effort to protect the public health and safety from injury, illness, or death, according to a proposed rulemaking notice that the California Department of Public Health published last Friday. The notice says that a death of a child occurred from these products. A ban would also lead to $602 million in lost revenue for California businesses in the first year, and a total loss of $3.14 billion in 5 years, plus tens of thousands of jobs. Prior to the emergency regulations, anyone of any age could purchase these products containing excessive concentrations of cannabinoids with limited safety data. Some manufacturers marketed their products to children with graphics and labeling which mimic brands of conventional candies and snacks, the department wrote in its notice. Under the regulations, only adults 21 and older can purchase industrial hemp final form food products that have a maximum of 5 servings per package and no detectable amount of total THC to protect those who only want to consume non-intoxicating cannabinoids from accidental consumption of intoxicating cannabinoids. The California Department of Public Health will take public comment until July 28th and will hold a public hearing on that date. The Maryland Hemp Coalition and a group of hemp companies filed a motion in court this week seeking to pause cannabis licensing in the state until hemp and cannabis entities are treated equally. The motion, filed in the U.S. District Court for the District of Maryland, is the latest step in a suit these hemp entities brought forth earlier this month against Governor Wes Moore and state cannabis regulators. As part of the implementation of Maryland's Recreational Cannabis Act, which went into effect on July 1, 2023, an unjust monopoly was bestowed on cannabis license holders with no familiarity with these products, and the right to sell these products was stripped from the plaintiff retailers, the plaintiffs argued in their complaint. The complaint then argues that it is virtually impossible to get the adult use cannabis license needed to sell these products, as the state has imposed a limit on the number of each license type it would issue, for example, 300 retailers. The state's approach to hemp, they conclude, violate the plaintiff's rights to equal protection under the law, violates the Supremacy Clause, violates the Dormant Commerce Clause as established by federal law, and also constitutes an unlawful taking under federal law. An alarming new meta-analysis of 24 recent studies raises concerns about the link between cannabis and serious heart issues. The analysis, published in Heart, a peer-reviewed medical journal of the British Medical Journal, and the British Cardiovascular Society, found that cannabis consumers face a greater risk of stroke, heart attack, and cardiovascular death. Our findings are consistent with those from previous reviews, which outlined the positive association between cannabis use and cardiovascular disorders, researchers concluded. The increased awareness of this potential risk among cannabis users should encourage investigating such use in all patients presenting with serious cardiovascular disorders. In the editorial, the authors of the study, Stanton Glantz, a retired University of California, San Francisco professor, and Lynn Silver, director of Getting It Right from the Start, part of the Public Health Institute, call for effective product warnings and more work on education. Cannabis needs to be incorporated into the framework for prevention of clinical cardiovascular disease. So too must cardiovascular disease prevention be incorporated into the regulation of cannabis markets. The New York Times also published an article dated June 19, 2025 on this research. Florida Atlantic University researchers conducted a study that aimed to track cannabis consumption treatment trends over time. They analyzed data from the 2003, 2011, and 2019 National Survey on Drug Use and Health. Results of the analysis showed concerning trends, as FAU noted in its announcement about the study. The study identified barriers to treatment, including cost, stigma, and concerns about consequences at work. Across time points, cannabis use disorder treatment utilization decreased, and most individuals with cannabis use disorder did not receive treatment, researchers concluded. Reasons for not receiving treatment varied, but results suggest people increasingly do not know where to access treatment or are not ready to stop use, could not afford treatment, and perceive stigma or occupational impact. This research was published in the journal Substance Use and Misuse. This is a topic I hope to cover later this season. Back home in New York, we began this season with a look at the New York State Legislature and the bills that had been introduced. Well, New York's legislative session wound down for the year at the end of last week, and while dozens of cannabis-related bills were introduced, only a couple of the closely watched ones passed. One focused on allowing for cannabis growers showcases. Another expanded the definition of crops, livestock, and livestock products to include cannabis. And finally, the Cannabis Excise Tax Quarterly Payment Reform Bill passed the Senate and Assembly. This bill gives cannabis cultivators and processors more time to pay their state excise taxes, extending the deadline from 20 days to 50 days after each quarter. The aim is to better align when tax payments are due with the operator's cash flow. As always, thanks to Cannabis Wire for the news. Check out Cannabis Wire at cannabiswire.com. Jay Randolph Wright, a member of the Shinnecock Nation in Southampton, New York, serves as the product marketing manager for Little Beach Harvest Dispensary, where he plays a pivotal role in shaping the brand's identity and expanding its presence in the competitive New York market. Jay ensures that Little Beach Harvest remains at the forefront of retail innovation while honoring its roots as one of the first tribally owned and regulated licensed businesses on the eastern end of New York. Welcome, Jay.
Hey, thank you for having me here, Herb. Appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you for doing this. This is great. It's a topic I've wanted to cover for a while. So could you share a brief history of Little Beach Harvest and how the Shinnecock Indian Nation decided to enter the cannabis market?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to start off, I'm Jay Wright. I am the manager at Little Beach Harvest, and I help basically construct and run basic operations and networking through the business and acquiring products and making those and creating events as well for the dispensary in its own. The tribe, once that we started seeing that we were able to make a path into cannabis through the changing of laws that made it illegal for indigenous tribes to be able to cultivate, automatically, and that we're talking years, obviously, ago, we automatically started just like piecing things together, how the tribe could do this the right way, the legal way, and be beneficial for its community and for the community around it. At first, the dispensary was going to be a medicinal dispensary, but then things changed, obviously, within New York when it became recreational to partake in cannabis with consumption or distribution of such. So we shifted gears and went rec. It was nice, it was a different transition, but it was very much one that was needed and welcomed within our community and within our area. LBH, I would say, was a conversation that was spoken about for years and years and years going, and we had many different partners, but those partners we ended up falling short of each other in goals, and from that we started working on ourselves, as everyone should. We became a tribe that basically supported its own, and basically was one of those, it was the grounding factor to say, hey, like, we can't give up. We need to continue to push on forward and such and such is no longer with us, but we're going to continue because this dream of what LBH is supposed to be and what it can be for our generations ahead of us. Not myself. I'm talking about Shinnecock indigenous people that aren't even born yet, can reap the benefit of this one business that was thought of for our tribe to get right, and not quit and continue to drive the factor that we can do it and that we're capable of creating business, not just in tobacco and cigarettes, and not just in casino, which is always the topic. We could do it in other ways that support the community around us. And that was the driving goal for Little Beach Harvest when it first opened up, to be.
And what year did it open?
We opened up in November 15th of 2023. So we're a year and I would say 3 quarters, 3-4 quarters in. Last year, this year, we were like on a fast, hard launch, and it was pieces moving here and there. And we were just like, yo, we're going to do it. We had 420 happen, and we had a great turnout for that. And then we rode that wave until the rest of the summer. And we continue to ride that wave into our fall. And if anyone knows anything about the Hamptons, where we are, we're a seasonal area, so it's important to capture and get all those people, not only who are coming out here from that spring to summertime, but the people who live here, our community, the people who matter the most to us, that we see on a regular daily basis, your brother, your sister, your friend, your neighbor, giving them support in those with CBD and other products that they couldn't find elsewhere or wasn't closely accessible to them. We were able to bring to them, and that was the goal for the business and the goal for the community construct of Little Beach Harvest.
Yeah. So can you explain the fundamental difference between operating under tribal sovereignty versus New York State, Office of Standards Management?
There's what I like to pin out and point out though about LBH before I start with that is that we like to still adhere to what the New York government testing and regulations, we idolize and we kind of replicate that so that we could be in somewhat of compliance with each other,
So you have your own compliance requirements.
So we have our Cannabis Regulatory Division, which is ran by the tribal nation, right? That entity is what oversights the whole cannabis side of our sovereignty and of our nation. That is replicated in the sense of the OCM regulations, but we are able to kind of have more flexibility, I would say, in those parameters, being able to have higher dosing for people if they need it. But yes, all tested and all ran by third-party testing, but we are able to move in an operational way that they cannot. Within our vapes, we could, within our gummies, within our consumption operation area, we allow people to be in the space, not only after purchasing your pre-roll or your edible or whatever the case may be, your beverage, because we have those too. You are able to just come and step outside on our patio, and smoke or drink, whatever the case, bring out your laptop and work to whatever, and in those sense of other operational places, other MSOs, there's no freedom in Rome to do that. And also the freedom to have your higher prescribed dosing. Because what I deal with a lot of people who are more on the experience side of cannabis is a 5 mg gummy just doesn't do it for them. They're taking a 5 mg, they're taking a 10 mg, but it's half 5 mg THC, the other half CBN, and where they might need just a little bit more of that. So with us, we're able to do that for them if they need. We have it all. We have down to the 5s if you need it, the 2 mgs if you need it, but we're able to have the higher style of products as well, which is our own in-house brand. And then within also our flower process, we have satellite growers who are from the tribe, who are entrepreneurs starting their own business within their own, created their own labs, created their own flower agriculture, everything, and they as well get their products tested and make sure that they go through the right parameters in order to have their products inside the store. I make sure that no one is allowed who doesn't have their products sample tested and ran through the right procedures. They just don't make it into the store. It's as simple as that, So, but the difference is we have more in-house grows, and which people are looking for because, and New York has a rough climate, to so to speak, when it comes to growing outdoors, and people don't really want to have either old weed or it's just a lot of elements. So with being able to make sure that we have the inside grow and we're able to do and produce these great products, these great plants, it's just everything, oils, tinctures, to supply the people that actually need it. That's a groundbreaking thing for not only my tribal members, but for the people around us who need these things. They can't.
Those all sound like those all sound like advantages of not being under the state system. Are there any particular challenges or disadvantages at not being a part of the state system?
Absolutely, and I see it all the time. I deal with it more than not, and it's a shame because I have a lot of New York State brands who reach out to us, who are so open and love the mission story and love the campaign that we have and love the idea of being actually useful in cannabis. We unfortunately can't work with them. Those are regulations set by the OCM, by the governor, unfortunately, that won't allow them to do business with us because we aren't, licensed by the New York State OCM board, and it's a shame because you have a lot of these other New York brands that are, in short, needing, to expand, to get out there because of the growing market of cannabis and the growing market, but flooding market at the same time, because New York is big, but it's just so big. If you have a cannabis store there, and we all have the same products in the store, no one eats. If you're able to expand outward and be able to be more beneficial in certain areas, but you're told you can't because it's not, even though we do the same way that you guys do, because New York State can't get a piece of a dollar off of us. They're not allowing these other brands to make the dollar themselves, and that's unfortunately the challenges of, getting those New York State brands in, because we still live, even though we're on sovereign land and we're in the Hamptons, we still get the people from New York or from California, from everywhere, that are, they're more acceptable to recognizable brands. And, we give them a teaching factor on our stuff, which is great. They love it. They love the fact that it's tax-free products. That's number one. But it's also that difference in where they say, oh, damn, they don't have,
they're coming in and asking for products that they buy at home.
Right. Right. But then they see
you don't have them on the shelf.
The benefit, though, of shopping with us, they save a lot more money, and they get what they're actually looking for within their flower and within their products and the vape.
So listen, and that was actually one of my questions, was about that taxation structure on the tribal sales.
Yeah.
So I think you just said that there's no tax.
Yeah, we're a tax-free entity. We do not tax you guys. And the tribe itself actually gets money from Little Beach Harvest. We give back a community fee back to the tribe, the business itself. So, there is no actual tax being done, no extra points on your sales. You're not buying, you see my gummies cost $15, but when you get to the POS, when you get to the bud tender, your thing is $35. It just went up a couple $10, $15. It's like, whoa, what? And that's just the difference between us. So you're not only saving money, but you're also getting a higher quality of product within live resin, hash rosin. We have it all, and giving you just the prescribed dosing. Our bud tenders are great. They're excellent. People, that is the number one thing that people always say about our place is not only that the 6,000 square foot building is amazing to see and that's nicely cultured and enriched, but that we have staff that is eclectic. It's not just indigenous people that work there, but they are working there. We have tons of indigenous people work there, but we hire off tribe. And we hire everyone who has the same love and support and connection to the plant and the connection to making someone's day happy and worth it and worth keep going,
Yeah, no, and I haven't been there yet, but I have seen the building online, and it's a beautiful structure.
Beautiful spot. People love it. That's the first thing, especially when you see someone who hasn't come into the store and they walk in and it, and you usually what we say is like, hey, welcome in, and then like they stop for a second and they're like, and you can say, oh, first time in, and they're like, yeah, like, wow, this place is amazing. That's great. That's always a welcoming feeling, and then you give them the run of the show.
Yeah. Now, my understanding is that there is the authority for the tribal nations in New York and the state to come to an agreement that would allow the tribal nation to sell New York State products. Has that been attempted with the Shinnecock?
It's been spoken about. It's been talked in certain rooms. We've had instances where we've invited OCM members to events and they've shown up and we've had conversations. So it's all about laying the groundwork down, and we want to get to that, and we want to get to that point. I don't feel as though there should be a divide. We're regardless of Shinnecock and New York, we're all still New Yorkers at the end of the day. We're all still one happy family at the end of the day, and we all have a common goal at the end of the day, and that's to be the best. We can be. New York, with cannabis in New York has skyrocketed, surpassed so many other states in cannabis that if you're just paying attention, we could continue to do more. And it would be worth the conversation to have, because you expand the business of the smaller business owners and business brand owners that are trying to do something for themselves as well. And if we're talking that we want to bring, if we want to bring people back to this, perfect world, that we want to live in, then let's work together as a unit, as a family, and then a cohesive unit to make stuff like that work.
Outside of the tax implication, right? And I was not aware that it's a tax-free sale at Little Beach Harvest. Are there any other key sort of regulatory differences between the state and your rules?
No, actually, there really isn't as such. We get our stuff tested, do full panel testings. The way that we acquire our products is all within tribal brands. We don't do any out of state stuff. We still run the same way that we want. But the thing is, we could, if we needed to, if we wanted to, we could work with other tribes through a pact agreement to make that work, as long as it's tribal to tribal. And that would be the other difference between the regulatory way that we're able to operate, is the fact of if I had a pact agreement with another tribe somewhere, and it's written down and it's set in stone, and we talk about it, then that's tribal to tribal stuff. So, that's one of the other differences. But other than that, it's really cut and dry. The same implications, the same holdings, in the same way that, like, the way we structure, the way we contaminate, the way that we dispose of everything of the sorts. It's all still the same way that they would do it. And that's our other issue. Is just like there is nothing that's really, when you put two papers next to each other, there's no difference in the wording. It's
and your products are also New York grown.
yeah. Our flower is products grown from the New York area, from tribal members, always, or from other tribal tribal entities. So it's all still intertribal, and then that's about it. Our gummies itself is things that we also do in house.
All right. So now, how do customers from out? I'm sorry.
Is that?
How do customers from outside the tribal nation, access Little Beach Harvest?
From outside, you could find us on on our websites at www.littlebeachharvest.org. You can find us and follow our story and our mission on Instagram. It's just Little Beach Harvest, just one word all together. And staying in touch with us on Facebook as well, and Little Beach Harvest Dispensary. We have a lot of events that we're a part of. Also, starting off this summer, like I was saying earlier, is that like out here, a lot of activations, a lot of things start off for us within once April starts all the way into damn near September. So you're gonna see us at everything that we possibly can be, and staying in touch with us on those platforms is the best way, and we'll be probably.
Is there also the ability to enter the tribal land and
Yeah. So the dispensary is actually on Montauk Highway. So the address is 56 Montauk Highway, and it's right off the strip of our tribal land. It's on tribal land, but it's on the strip of the highway that once you cross over onto the other side of the highway, you're now off tribal land.
Okay.
It is, it's really all ours. But if you, and shout out to my tribe, we actually just got our land back. We got a parcel of our land back, 8 acres over by Namawak. That's in our tribal area. In Westwoods and Hampton Bays. So we're also slowly taking our land back as well, which is super important within building and creating more business for ourselves. But we're moving, we're progressing, but the store itself is on that strip on 56 Montauk Highway, and you're able to drive past it. We call it the trade parade because we get so many people from the west headed out to the east in the early morning, and then the same headed back out west towards that 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock time. So you're seeing nothing but cars and everything driving by, and a lot of people see our building. They stop by, they're like, oh my God, this building is amazing. I always wanted to stop by, see what's up, or they see us on ads and things like that. And they make that decision to finally pull over and pull into our area. We have a drive-through as well. Our drive-through is open for everybody. Those people who have dogs in the car, people who have kids, all that kind of stuff. You need to be quick. You can place your order online and then drive up to the back, straight off the highway, right into the back of the store, pull out. You're good. You don't even got to get out your car, So that's another thing that we have different from other dispensaries. We have that accessibility for you to pull up through the back, get your pre-roll or what source. And if you didn't want to talk to nobody, pull up to the parking lot, get out your car and sit in the cabana if you want. It's all love here, and everyone's welcome.
All right. So with the market, both your market and the New York State government market, how do you see that? Or what would your hope be for the next 5 years, right? As to the development of both of these markets?
I really want to see the bridge and the gap being made. We gotta work together as a unit. Like I said, I want to start seeing our products in other stores. We're working on distribution at the moment with other tribes, getting our products that we have in-house out there. That's my goal. Expansion within locking in my area because home means a lot, especially during the all 12 months of this year, not just the summertime. Summertime, you're going to see, it's of course that boom, that boost, but my home area is important and locking that down. And once I had that, I know that I could focus and expanding outwards. But that next steps with that comes with, getting our products into those other dispensaries if possible, putting us in those spaces, not even if it's for products, it's just being in those areas as a representation, as being, acknowledged.
Right, because it's not just that you can't sell New York State licensed products, but those dispensaries can't sell your products, those New York State OCM licensed, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So it's about bridging that gap for us,
Right. So, I mean, in the end, so what advice would you have for customers to understand the distinction between the New York State OCM licensed dispensaries, products, and the Shinnecock licensed dispensary and products?
I would my first thing of telling them is always, we make sure that we take care of yourself, that we make sure that we have the right products in the store for the right people. We do the work, we do the research. You're going to see the difference in prescribing dosing of what you typically would see within the New York market and then what we have, and then from that, we like to let you judge on where you want to go, but just know that we have those options for you. And as a tribe, what we do here is more important than just turning over a dollar and turning over a customer. It's about building that relationship with you and support of what you actually need and what you have going on with yourself. It's not about getting you in and out the door. It's about actually building that relationship with you. Even if you don't need it, just know that we're here for that support for the things that you do need. And basically when it comes down to having this space that is for you, it's not just a Shinnecock owned business, it's not a tribally owned business, it's for everybody, and that our products are curated for that, for everybody and for yourself. And we just go through those steps, third-party steps of making sure that we're giving you safe products, just like how a New York State would. We want to do that, but over those next 10 steps, because of what we are able to do, we want to make sure that we're able to give you that better dosing and that better quality flower, and fresh flower, most importantly, and it's tested. You're not getting, readings of different substances found in your products, which we've all heard horror stories of those things happening before, and I'm sure that could be some of the reasons why some people would have their guard up within shopping with us, but that would be the first distinct reason of the reasons why they should, is the fact that we go through those steps to make sure that we test and over and over and over again, and it's all done the right way.
All right. Well, thank you. I also wanted to say thank you to Zoe Wilder for helping set this conversation up.
That's good.
Jay, any last words for the audience?
Yeah, just check out our we're planning on having a music fest for 10 series music fest for the summer, puff and paint events, dog donation events, all kinds of things, everything for our community, making sure you guys have something for the summer, for the year, and giving you guys everything that you need within your products, tax-free, lab tested, pull up, smoke with us, have a good time with us. It's all about building and having that support factor. I always say cannabis has many different faces. You might be smoking with a doctor, a lawyer, a lobbyist, who knows? You just smoking with whoever, but you're all building, and you never know. You could be smoking Capitol Haze with the next president. You never know. So it's just like all about those kinds of those relationships that we hone in and lock in here. And follow us on Little Beach Harvest on Instagram, and follow us on Little Beach Harvest Dispensary, that's what it is. Little Beach Harvest Dispensary on Facebook, and tap in on our products at www.littlebeachharvest.org.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
That's it for this episode of Joint Session Diverse Voices in New York State Cannabis. If you found today's discussion valuable, consider leaving a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. It helps more listeners find the show. Better yet, share it with colleagues, advocates, and anyone interested in the future of cannabis in New York. Joint Session is produced by me, Herb Barbot, together with executive producer Robert Curtis from Simlev Media. Special thanks as always to Cannabis Wire. You can follow us on Instagram at jointsession.pod and on LinkedIn at Joint Session Podcast. If you have any comments, questions, or topic suggestions, reach out to me at herb.jointsession@gmail.com. Until next time, this is Herb Barbot. Thanks for listening.